name is Tuhon Rommel Tortal, and I'm a tactical military instructor and law enforcement instructor and security contractor of the different units of the military and law enforcement worldwide. So, and currently I hold a head of Pekiti Tirsia under the World Federation, and traveling around all over the world to conduct a seminar and organize people of the Pekiti Tirsia community.
Boom, boom, follow three. Break the arm there. So as soon as you break the arm, boom, now I'm here. Okay, basically you have to smash the head. So you smash the head, now look at this, it's your break. Okay, you break, follow through. Cut there.
Franchement, on est avec un grand maître de Pekiti Tirsia, c'est le numéro 2 de Pekiti Tirsia système. Et vous voyez là la qualité vraiment du système, le petit footwork, les qualités vraiment de Pekiti Tirsia. La qualité du Pekiti, c'est qu'on est dans un style du Cali combatif. C'est-à-dire on est tout le temps dans le combat, quoi. On n'a pas l'idée d'avoir défense ou c'est ça l'idée en fait. On est toujours dans le combatif. C'est un système guerrier.
Okay, Pekiti Tirsia is belong to my family, belong to the Tortal family. Basically, this is not mine. This is belong to the family, meaning it's our own clan. It's own of this system. And this was established 1897, but my great-great-grandfather, Conrado Tortal, and he inherited this in his grandfather as well. So now my uncle, Grand Tuhon Leogahe, he introduced this in the States, in the US, back to 1972, then in New York City. Then from that year, it spread out all over the US up to 80s, 90s, and 90s it was spread out all over Europe, then spread out all over Asia. Now it's become a worldwide organization. The difference between the philosophy of Pekiti Tirsia and the other art of Kali is this is more weapon-oriented art based on the edge weapon and blade-oriented. So meaning, if you see it that the stick, we're using a stick that's only for temporary or training purposes. But in reality, we're using a real blade because this is a blade art. And the philosophy is a completely entire different than the other art because this art focus on offensive and counter-offensive. We don't follow like blocking or stances. We are more mobile or mobility, using a footwork strategy and different types of tactics and application based on offensive and counter-offensive. Basically, the art, we have an official weapon, which is the sword. The name of that sword is Ginunting. Ginunting is a official Pekiti Tirsia sword. It originated in the central Philippines and in my province back in Negros Occidental. And now it's not only the Ginunting. From Ginunting, then we have a knife, we have a stick, we have a lugod, which is the karambit, and we have some empty hands, and malayo sibat, which is a spear. We have the swords and dagger, and we have a double weapon, which is a double stick or double blade. So those are the things that cover the complete and different weapon categories of use of the system. Basically, it's forbidden, but because of its culture, because of the culture there in the Philippines, even forbidden, still people wearing a knife most of the time because of the culture. So although the law there in the Philippines is forbidden and prohibited for you to carry the knife, is against the law. And but since people like still, you know, they hide the knife, they keep carrying that all the time because that's the nature of the mindset of Filipino and it's the culture. I can say this is a combat art and survival art. So of course, a lot of people, so of course, nowadays we have like martial arts, fighting art, you know, defensive art or self-defense art and combat art. Of course, we cannot introduce to the public and say, oh, this is the killing art, or this is like a brutal art. We cannot do that because it's like we have to choose the word that it not like sounds not like really brutal and sounds not really violent, because it's like when you introduce to the public, you cannot say, oh, this is like a brutal art or a killing art. You cannot do that unless you are facing in the military, teaching the law enforcement, and they understand that. But in the public, you can still say, okay, this is a martial arts, this is a survival art. You know, but basically, the application itself, you can see the level of the movement and the level of the application and the technique. So this is like as a more technical and more combative. So basically, Pekiti Tirsia, it's not, we are not only working in a civilian, we are not only working for law enforcement, but mainly we specialize working in the military and in a special operation unit of, you know, of the group of people, you know, that, you know, because this art, it's, I can say, it's a combat art, art based on the knife, and a deadly art. So mainly that kind of practice adapted to the military and any special operation unit or either law enforcement or military. Basically, when I conduct a training in law enforcement or the military, from the beginning, it's like we have a stage of training. It's not like immediately you give them a stress training, because as I said, you know, you have to be practical, because if you give like in a training, you give a training to those people, the group of people, that community of people, it's you cannot give like, okay, this is the technique, because everyone can do it. Like, okay, this is the technique, I will teach you the technique, but it's not that way. You teach them the culture, the mindset. Of course, the technique is in there. Under stress, that they can apply the technique if they are under stress situation. Meaning to say, in the only way you to react and you to apply a better technique or the better application as far as the technique is concerned, if you have a better familiarization, you have a better understanding about the philosophy and the principle of the art. We are not memorizing the technique. If you try to memorize the technique, end of the day, you cannot remember it because of the stress situation. Because if the stress in actual scenario and under stress situation, you cannot do anything because of what? Even you know something, you forget it because you are under stress. But if you understand the principle, it's become natural reaction for you. That's a different things. We are not following the technique, learning the technique, but we're learning the principle and learning the philosophy behind of the system. Punch there, deliver punch. Now I'm here, right? Now, break the arm. Break there, now I'm here. Boom, break. Now look at this. Push this. Break. Now this is your breaking. Break the leg. I can say it depends to the area. Same thing same thing here in I can say in Paris. Depend which area it depends. Like for example, if you're in Makati, I can say that area it's lots of expat, lots of foreigner. So I can say it's safer. But if you go outside, let's say for example Manila area, Tondo or things like that, that's a lot of criminal. That's a lot of people that gangs, lots of people that organize crime. You have to prepare there all the time because like I can say, there's no, those area is not safe. So you have to carry something on you as equalizer. And in case of emergency, you have something to pick up. You see what I'm saying? So this is like the elements of survival. If you go there and if you go there to do something, so in those areas, it's not safe. In the Philippines, of course, before, they are not oriented with the knife before. But since we introduced this to law enforcement back to 90s in the Philippines, so not only they're wearing a gun, they carry a gun, so they have like at least 2 knives with them. So they have a folder knife. I always suggest, okay, you have to carry a folder knife, a fixed knife, of course, a gun, and baton. That will be the primary tool of law enforcement officer, because I said, a law enforcement officer it's not all the time that you're gonna shoot the criminal. You know, that's why we have the program that we teach the law enforcement officer a progressing technique, which is by application of force continuum. Force continuum is acceleration of force, meaning to say, if the criminal is not really is manageable, you can arrest the criminal. So if it's too violent that his intention is to kill the police officer, of course, you can kill him. But if it's manageable, you have to arrest him as much as possible. That's why we have that kind of program as a force continuum program, also acceleration of force. Basically, my advice for the beginners, I want them to focus first the basic foundation, which is the footwork. That's number 1. Footwork is the key, no matter what. There's a lot of practitioners nowadays, they forget about the footwork. They want, like, okay, technique, but it doesn't work in reality. You have to establish, you have to work with your footwork. Number 2, body mechanics. Number 3, you have to perfect all the angles of your strike. That way that you have a platform when you get into advance, it's easy for you, and it's easy for you to understand the basic principle and the basic platform of the system. That way, when you go to advanced and intermediate level, so it's easy for you. So you're not like, oh, what's I gonna do? So meaning they are prepared for that because their foundation is very solid and they understand the whole thing.